Last year, Donald Trump and Republicans promised that if they won the election, they would be hard at work solving issues for the American people. But instead of cutting grocery bills or energy costs, instead, elected Republicans are spending their time proposing a constitutional amendment which would allow Donald Trump to run for a third term. That's where their priorities are. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. Man, you can't make this shit up. I mean, just when you think that elected Republicans could run out of ways to show their own constituents, their own voters, let alone the American people, that they don't give a damn, they get creative. Andy Ogles, an elected Republican congressman, an idiot, one of the worst in Congress, and we're going to get into his past, well, he is introducing a resolution to amend the 22nd Amendment to allow Donald Trump to seek a third term, and he announced it on Twitter. And spoiler alert, it's so stupid that even on Twitter, right-wing deranged Twitter, which grades MAGA and Trump on a curve, this thing has been ratioed to hell and back. Only 8,000 likes and 13,000 comments should give you a clue about how popular this is. Axios reported on this as well. House GOP measure would let Trump seek a third term. A House Republican on Thursday introduced a proposed change to the Constitution that would allow Donald Trump to seek a third term in office. The amendment has virtually no chance of becoming ratified, but it's a marker of the depths of fealty Donald Trump enjoys within the GOP. Republican House members have rushed to introduce bills that would codify Trump's vision for expanding U.S. borders by acquiring Greenland and the Panama Canal, for instance. Again, ridiculous notions that do not work at all to solve the issues for the American people, like, again, high grocery bills, energy costs, things of that nature. Again, the stuff that they campaigned on doing. The measure is an extreme long shot. It would take a 2/3 vote in both chambers of Congress and be ratified by 38 states to be added to the Constitution. So again, no chance whatsoever. But this is where their priorities are. They know this stands no chance whatsoever, and instead this is what they're wasting time on. Representative Andy Ogles of Tennessee said Thursday he's introducing a 2-page joint resolution to amend the 22nd Amendment, which sets the current 2-term limit for presidents. Ogles' amendment would allow any president to serve a third term if their first 2 terms were non-consecutive. And here's a little asterisk for this. He actually gets trolled on Twitter for it because it's seen as a deliberate attempt to prevent President Obama from running for a third term. Okay? Now, Obama and Trump are arch enemies, perhaps even more so than Trump and Hillary Clinton or Trump and President Biden. And they know that President Obama is extremely popular, much more popular than Donald Trump if you look at approval ratings in and out of office. They would dread a Trump-Obama match because the two never got the chance to run against each other. The text of the amendment would still prohibit a third term if the first 2 were consecutive, prohibiting former Presidents Bush, Obama, and Clinton from running again, or a third full term for anyone who has served more than 2 years of someone else's term. Okay, so let's look at it right here. So we're actually going to look at his statement. What an idiot. These people are so stupid. Donald Trump's leadership stands in stark contrast to the chaos, suffering, and economic decline Americans have endured over the past 4 years. He's proven himself to be the only figure in modern history. Think about this. He's proven himself to be the only figure, says Andy Ogles, in modern history capable of reversing our nation's decay and restoring America to greatness, and he must be given the time necessary to accomplish that goal. To that end, I am proposing an amendment to the Constitution to revise the limitations imposed by the 22nd Amendment on presidential terms. This amendment would allow Trump to serve 3 terms, ensuring that we can sustain the bold leadership our nation so desperately needs. It's imperative we provide Trump with every resource necessary to correct the disastrous course set by the Biden administration. Trump has shown time and time again that his loyalty lies with the American people and our great nation above all else. He is dedicated to restoring the republic and saving our country, and we, as legislators and as states, must do everything in our power to support him. And it goes on and on and on. Absolutely disgusting, obsequious behavior. And he's being trolled rightly for it on Twitter. Do it, I dare you. Somebody posting a picture of Obama. Of course, again, the text of this suggests that President Obama would not be eligible to run for a third term. Again, very carefully designed by Andy Ogles for just such a reason. Rick Wilson of the Lincoln Project. How many times were you dropped on your head as a child? The fact that he wrote it in a specific way so Obama couldn't run for a third time shows he doesn't really want to risk fucking around and finding out. 2 terms is plenty for a president. We should install term limits on Congress. Let's add age caps while we're at it. You're setting yourself up to be embarrassed by Obama in 2028 if you repeal the 22nd Amendment, especially after this upcoming disaster of a term, etc., and so forth. This guy is being relentlessly mocked, as well he should. I also have other clips, though, to just point out that this is not a fluke. This is not, a random thing. Andy Ogles, multiple House Republicans, but Andy Ogles in particular, has a history of this obsequious bullshit. You may recall, because we did videos about this, but last year, House GOP lawmakers introduced a bill to rename Dulles Airport near Washington, D.C. after Donald Trump. Democrats panned the bill as ridiculous, an attempt by Republicans to suck up to Trump. And indeed it was. Again, this was at a time when the American people had serious issues that they needed to address. And rather than work with Senate Democrats and President Biden to solve those issues, the House Republicans were instead just content to block everything that President Biden and the Democrats wanted to do and then try to do bullshit like this. Andy Ogles actually did interviews. And I want you to see this loser in real time disgrace himself and his office and his constituents with this really slimy, pathetic, invertebrate behavior. We're going to play 2 clips from his interview on Newsmax in support of legislation to rename Dulles Airport after Donald Trump, and it will give you an insight into how this loser thinks.
Bills stand a chance of passing?
Well, it's one of those, you always swing for the fences, you never stop fighting. But look, Donald Trump was a transformative president. The country was in a better place when he was president of the United States. The economy was better, the borders were more secure, and the world was safer. So it's time that we recognize that fact, regardless of whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. We were all better off under Donald Trump versus under this so-called Bidenomics.
Yeah, Republicans are having a tough time in the House. Gallagher, Buck, McCarthy, Santos, all gone. So you don't really have. You've got a 1-vote margin.
That's
Do you
right.
think this would even pass in the House if it went to the floor for a vote?
Well, there's one way to find out. Let's put it out there, baby, and let's go. I mean, you don't fight, you don't stop fighting because the odds are tough. But I think it can pass. Now, look, I don't think the Senate would take it up, but that's on them, not us. We have an obligation to do our jobs, and part of that is to honor the former president and to set the stage. We've got to win.
So here's the thing. This is what I mean. Not every elected Republican is stupid. Seriously, there are very smart elected Republicans out there. Mitch McConnell is very smart. Ted Cruz is a loser, but he's very smart too. They're out there, okay? This guy happens to be the stereotypical elected Republican like Marjorie Taylor Greene. He's just really dumb, and he deserves nothing but your eternal disdain. This guy should be made fun of for the rest of his life. He really should. And I want you to hear what he just said. We have to do our jobs. And part of that job, he says, is honoring Donald Trump. So, again, this man's very stupid, dumber than anybody watching, right? We're all smarter than Andy Ogles. So let's remind Andy Ogles, you are a member of the House of Representatives, one of 2 chambers in the legislature, okay? The legislative branch, that's the Article 1 branch. You all are supposed to be the necessarily predominant branch. You don't work for the president. Is the president more powerful than you, individual congressmen? Yes, by far, and rightly so. But the legislature is supposed to be first among equals. You don't work for the president. Your job is not to honor the president, Democrat or Republican. If a Democrat ever said something like this about a Democratic president, I would also be disgusted. Show respect if you think it's deserved. Certainly, I believe, as a general proposition, the office of the president needs to be respected. Of course, I think Donald Trump disrespects the office more than anybody, so I'm not inclined to show him respect. But your job is not to prostrate yourselves before the president and honor them. Your job is to deliver material results and material benefits for your constituents and for the American people. That's your job. But this loser thinks his job is actually just to kiss Donald Trump's ass, and that's been part and parcel of Andy Ogles' career. Again, the disdain that should follow this man is beyond words. One of the most pathetic members of Congress. We'll play another clip as part of that interview, again, just as a reminder, just to show how weak he is.
So how do you respond to the critics who are saying the Republicans just aren't serious enough?
Well, again, they criticize us for good policy. We had House Bill 1, which was the best immigration bill, the most conservative immigration bill.
You moron. you're entitled to try to pass your conservative bills. The reason that they called you unserious was because of shit like this. Modifying the 22nd Amendment to let Donald Trump run in perpetuity. Renaming Dulles Airport after Donald Trump. This is the shit that causes people to be so contemptuous of Congress, and it is almost all the fault of elected MAGA Republicans. But I want to play you one more clip because, again, at the beginning in that Axios article, we talked about, Republican priorities and how Republicans, in addition to, supporting a constitutional amendment to let Trump run for a third term, also really want Greenland and the Panama Canal. So this is a more recent interview with the moron, Andy Ogles, about such notions.
You recently introduced a bill. It gives President Trump the congressional authority to acquire Greenland. Tell us more about this.
Well, for some, that may sound a little bit crazy, but actually the United States has been eyeing Greenland for over 100 years. Strategically, when you look at it,
Yeah, the reason people think it's crazy is because it's part and parcel of what you crazy people do. Your priorities should be doing what you all promised to do on the campaign trail, which is overnight end the war in Ukraine, cutting grocery bills, cutting energy costs. Again, doing this, you all said it was effortless. You all said it would be super simple to do. And instead, you're doing shit like this. Let's annex Canada. Let's annex Greenland. Let's, retake the Panama Canal. Let's modify the 22nd Amendment. So folks, hear me on this. And unfortunately, I know some people won't hear me because they hate Democrats so much they are perfectly content to suffer alongside Democrats as long as they know that Democrats are suffering as well. If you're a voter, Republican or Democrat, conservative or progressive, well, you should want our elected representatives who will actually work to serve you, right? Or at least do more than this, okay? Instead, what you have in Andy Ogles is a virtue signaler, a Trump kiss ass, who doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about his voters. He doesn't care about his conservative voters. He doesn't care about his liberal constituents. He doesn't give a damn. He cares about one person, Donald Trump. That's it. That's pathetic. That should earn universal disdain. And this is why I say, for all their faults, and the Democratic Party has many, they are just objectively superior at governing. In large part because collectively they're a lot smarter than elected Republicans, but also because their priorities are just a bit more aligned. Do you have elected Democrats out there who, care about enriching themselves? Yes. Not as much as elected Republicans, and there's no cult of personality in the Democratic Party. This man is part of a government trifecta. They have the House, they have the Senate, they have a supermajority on the Supreme Court, and they have the presidency. There should be nothing standing in their way from delivering results to you if they want to deliver results for you, and if they're good at their jobs. But if they're not good at their jobs and they don't want to deliver results to you, then they're not going to, and we've already seen that on full display. Pathetic. And people, you should remember this when it comes time to vote. A choice between a flawed but intentional and serious governing party, which has a better record than the Republicans, or the Republicans, whose priority right now is to try to put Donald Trump back in office for the rest of his life. Pathetic. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.